Hello, fellow boxing fans. The fight I want to cover in this video is Dimitri Bivol versus David Benavidez. And the only reason I want to do this matchup is because of the way that fans talk about Canelo, or accuse Canelo of ducking Benavidez. They accuse him of fighting Bivol to duck Benavidez. And it's a little backwards to me for the simple fact that Bivol is really better than Benavidez. They're both awkward fighters. They both throw good combinations. But Bivol is a complete fighter. Bivol has great footwork. Benavidez is flat-footed. As I mentioned, they both throw good combinations, but Bivol has faster hands than Benavidez. And Bivol is what I consider a complete fighter. Now, although Benavidez is good, I feel that Benavidez is one-dimensional. He's slightly one-dimensional. He knows how to fight coming forward. And he has pops. He has pop to his shots. He throws good combinations, as I mentioned, but he doesn't have the hand speed that Bivol has. And so I feel that Benavidez was tailor-made for Canelo. And as a Canelo fan, I was more comfortable with Benavidez than I was Bivol. And I was even saying this before Canelo fought Bivol. So, who would win between Benavidez and Bivol? I think I just answered my own question with my assessment. And I think Benavidez would be frustrated with Bivol's movement, and Bivol is an excellent, dangerous counterpuncher. And so I think that Benavidez would be getting clipped a lot in this fight. I think that Benavidez would be following Bivol around. I think that Benavidez would have trouble cutting the ring off as Bivol utilizes his superior footwork. And so I think that this fight definitely goes to Bivol by decision. Now, Benavidez is tough, and so I really don't see Bivol knocking Benavidez out, or maybe he will, being that he's a light heavyweight and Benavidez is a super middleweight. But I just see all the advantages going to Bivol in this fight. Now, if Benavidez can somehow cut the ring off, get Bivol against the ropes or in the corner and start firing away, just trying to give him a little something in this fight, then just maybe he can have success. But once again, the footwork, the hand speed, the combinations, the upper body movement from Bivol would prove to be just a bit much for Benavidez. Bivol is just a better fighter. Bivol is a complete fighter. So I'm going with Bivol by a landslide decision. Let me know what you think. I will catch you on the next video. Hello, fans. I just wanted to take time out to talk about Saturday night's fight between Dimitri Bivol and Canelo Alvarez. Dimitri Bivol scored the upset victory, and I knew there was a chance that he would. I will admit that I picked Canelo to win this fight, but I knew that Bivol was dangerous. I couldn't understand why fans were calling him a cherry pick, trying to disregard him, not giving him a chance at all. So I feel that boxing owes Bivol an apology. Like I said, I picked Canelo to win, but I knew that there was a chance that Bivol would pull off the upset. And all fans can talk about in regards to Canelo is Andre, Benavidez, Charlo, Benavidez, Andre. But you can't tell me that Bivol couldn't beat those guys, that Bivol isn't better than those guys, that he wasn't more of a threat than those guys. But Canelo is going to fight a dangerous and an awkward light heavyweight to duck those guys or cherry pick. It makes absolutely no sense. And I just think that fans look for any reason to criticize Canelo. If Canelo would have beaten Bivol, he wouldn't have got credit. And of course, he's not getting credit since he lost. But we take this undefeated thing too far. We just go too far with it sometimes. If a fighter loses 1 or 2 fights, they're washed up. They're overrated. They've been exposed. Overhyped. Many of these things that people come up with. But in reality, you can lose a few fights and still have a great career. Fighters of the past have done it. Plenty of them went on to be champions and superstars after losses. So there is life after a loss. You can have a career after a loss. But we just, this undefeated thing is killing the sport. It really is. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. There's too many casual fans. They're just ruining the sport because they really don't understand the dynamics of the sport. They really don't. They don't understand that a fighter doesn't have to be perfect to be great. And for one, there are no perfect fighters. And so we nitpick. We nitpick on what their weaknesses are and all the things that they can't do. But there's always something that every fighter can't do. Canelo doesn't have a jab. Canelo is flat-footed, this and that. And there's always something that can be exploited. It just takes the right fighter with the right skill set and the right style to do it. And that's what Bivol did. So I feel that this fight is more about criticizing Canelo than it is celebrating Bivol. Why can't we just say Bivol won? Bivol was the better man. Bivol fought a tremendous fight. He showed his skills. We can't do that. We have to say things like, well, how is Canelo gonna let someone with 19 fights beat him? That's ridiculous. That's plain ridiculous. The amount of fights that a fighter has doesn't determine if they can beat another fighter. And you know that's ridiculous. You know that's crazy. And a lot of people say, ignore these casuals. But it's hard when you hear such ignorance. And then the fighters move. The boxing world moves according to what these casuals say. And I can't understand for the life of me why boxing is trying so hard to market and to cater to casual fans. I mean, what about the diehards? What about those who follow the sport religiously, who follow the sport for a long time, who understand the sport, the different dynamics in the sport, the different styles, techniques, skill sets, strategies? But you want to market to casuals who know nothing about the sport. And I do my best not to be condescending, not to act like I know everything or have all the answers. But listening to some of the things that I'm listening to is gone too far. Imagine taking this attitude into any other sport. Imagine saying that Michael Jordan wasn't great because he missed shots. Emmitt Smith wasn't great because he got tackled. Do you hear how that sounds? Or Ali is not great because he got beat by Frazier. I mean, this is madness. It's madness. You know it's madness, and I know it's madness. But we continue to let these casuals get away with this foolishness. And it has to stop. That's not to say you can't have your opinion. That's not to say that you have to like a certain fighter, because I'm not a fan of every fighter. Every fighter just doesn't do it for me. But at the same time, we have to get to the point to where we can give credit where credit is due, to where we're not coming up with all these ridiculous reasons to discredit a fighter. I mean, we slander Canelo so bad when Canelo's a good fighter, good champion, superstar. And yes, Bivol outworked him. Yes, he was up significantly on the scorecards. In my view and in other people's view, I give you that. But Canelo was still fighting back. He was still trying. He was coming forward, and he was trying everything. He was never out of the fight. He never gave up. But people act like Canelo just got annihilated and destroyed in there. And that's not the case. Bivol outworked him with his good footwork, with his hand speed, with his accuracy, and with his power. You know, Bivol is the truth. He's the real deal. He's an all-around fighter. But what gets me is just because Bivol beat Canelo, now everybody's going to beat Canelo. I can probably beat Canelo now. Benavidez, Andrade, and Charlo, they all murder Canelo now, all of a sudden. Well, for one, casuals, styles makes fights. And for two, let's talk about Benavidez for a second. Benavidez is flat-footed himself. Benavidez is not as fast as Bivol. Benavidez is one-dimensional. Bivol is a complete fighter. Benavidez just knows how to come forward, and Benavidez relies on his toughness to win fights. Yes, he throws punches from all different angles. I'll give him that. But he's not quick enough to compete with Canelo. As much as I love Charlo, good, solid boxer, throwback type fighter, he's inactive for one. This is his first fight coming up in almost 2 years, which is ridiculous, I'm sorry to say. But Charlo is basically just what I call a straight up fighter. Has a good 1-2. He has an excellent jab. That's one thing I give Charlo. He has an excellent jab. He has great power. But I don't think he sets up his shots well enough to be able to compete with Canelo. And Andrade, he's not this boogeyman you all are making him out to be. I'm sorry. He's not this boogeyman. Has an awkward style, awkward southpaw style. I'll give him that. But he doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the accuracy, in my opinion, to compete with Canelo. Throws his punches wide, which will get him caught and which will get him countered. So, just because Bivol beats Canelo doesn't mean that these other fighters can beat Canelo. Same with Wilder. Tyson Fury, who happens to be a tall, strong, tough heavyweight. A heavyweight who moves like a lightweight. Just because Tyson Fury beats Wilder, now everybody beats Wilder. But everybody's not Fury. And that's just one example among many. And so I think that a lot of these new fans, these casual fans who've just started watching boxing within the last 10 years or so, get an understanding of the sport before you just start spewing out venom against a fighter. Get an understanding of the sport. I'm tired of this. You don't have to be undefeated to be great. Enough is enough. I'm not going to let you off the hook with this anymore. It's ridiculous. It's gone too far. Stop worshiping the O. It doesn't mean as much as we make it out to be. We put too much stock in it. I'm not saying that it's not important, but it's not everything. It's not what makes a fighter great. The way a fighter moves, the level of opposition, the fashion in which you fought these guys or these other fighters, that's what makes you great. Your heart and determination. Stop worshiping the O. Stop turning these fighters into divas with your foolishness. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think.